Boldwood presents The Truth About You and Me, written by Emma Cooper, and read by Will Close and Gemma Lawrence. Chapter 1. Friday, 6th of September. Maggie. When I was a child, I wanted to be an astronaut. I yearned for space, for the quiet, my skin covered in layers of thick white fabric, hands in those puffy white gloves that held the American flag on the moon, my face protected by a smooth glass dome. I wanted to be an astronaut so badly that I'd once got my head stuck in a glass bowl. A foster father, I forget his name now, had to cut my pigtails away so he could shimmy the bowl over my ears. I'd screamed and screamed as his hands yanked and pulled. Okay, so I might have been a tiny bit optimistic on the whole astronaut thing, but I found the next best thing. I'm a cleaner. I know that it might seem like one small step down from my childish dreams and one giant leap into minimum wage, but I love it. I like imagining the smile on a person's face when they come home after a stressful day to a clean house. I picture their reflection smiling in the stainless steel of their kettle as they notice the way the polished floorboards catch the light of the setting sun. I think that in my own way, I have an impact on their happiness. I make their lives a little brighter, a little easier. I get to be part of their life while still keeping the distance I need. They say love your job and you'll never work a day in your life, and that is how I try to live, but sometimes shit just has a way of happening. Which is why I'm about to say the following words. I quit. I pull off my lanyard, careful not to get it tangled in my chaotic curls, and throw it onto one of the many mattresses housed in the showroom for Pillow Paradise. What? Doug, purple with indignation, stares at my face. It makes a refreshing change. He's usually staring at my boobs. I knew what was going through his mind as he reached over while I bent down to empty the wastepaper basket, but he needed a paperclip. What a load of shite. I have to quit before I do something I regret, despite really, really needing this job. Or maybe I wouldn't regret strapping him to the massage master. It might shake some sense into him. You can't just quit! It's mattress madness tomorrow! Actually, I pull on my cerise fake fur. I can. I zip up my backpack with my cleaning products in, wrap Henry Hoover's nozzle around my neck, and make for the glass doors. Henry is a British icon. London red bus body, cartoon happy eyes peering up above his hose for a nose, permanent smile beneath. I've had Henry for 10 years now, the only reliable man to ever be part of my life. Doug rages as I sweep past the snooze ease double and the snuggle rest divan. Feel free to make a formal complaint. My email is maggie.wright@yahoo.com. I'll be sure to get back to you promptly. Actually, I may as well save you the bother. I pause, adjust the hose around my neck, and wiggle my fingers like they're hovering over a keyboard. Dear Doug. I clear my throat. Thank you for your email, but given that you're an egotistical dickhead who has accidentally, I finger quote, then continue with my imaginary keyboard tapping, brushed yourself against me, I'm afraid your contract has now been terminated and a complaint has been made to Pillow Paradise Limited. Will that do? Or would you like me to recite the specific areas of misconduct you've breached? He narrows his eyes and folds his arms. Nobody will believe you. I'm a husband and a father, and you're just the cleaner. Yes, I am. Good luck with mattress madness, by the way. It might be a bit quieter than you were expecting, though, as I popped a post about you on the Facebook page. I make my way past the mattress of my dreams with a touch of regret. There goes my 10% discount. So long, Firmhaven. I grab the door and swing it open, the sounds of the Friday morning rush leaking in as he begins furiously unlocking his phone screen. Oh, and Doug? I fix him with a stare. I would think again about planning to let the store cupboard door accidentally slam behind you and another employee. His overgroomed eyebrows meet his slicked back hairline. What? I let the door swing closed behind me rather than respond. Almost there. I lie back on my bed, suck in my breath, and force the button of my jeans into place. Come on, Mags, I haven't got all day. Tess's voice from my phone has me vaulting from my mattress. I drop a hip. So, what do you think? I twirl. Bargain, right? She leans forward, Velcro rollers almost hitting her phone screen. Nope. What do you mean, nope? These are vintage 501s and... I bend over and flick the tab on the back pocket. Judd Nelson wears these in the Breakfast Club. I turn around and run my hand over the thighs. Mate, life isn't a John Hughes movie. It's not the 80s, and Shermer, Illinois doesn't even exist. She leans closer to the screen. I can practically see what you've had for lunch. Not so much a camel toe as a whole bleeding foot. I deflate. The button pops and fires its way across the room. Tess snorts, mouthful of coffee almost spurting out of her nude glossed lips. Okay, I'll stick them on Vinted. I begin yanking the jeans off and reach for my denim skirt. Nice knickers, by the way, very... My head shakes at her enthusiastic imitation of a lion. This isn't the first time she's seen me in my undies. I'm Tess's adoptive sister, and we spent most of our childhood in a shared bedroom with a small set of bunk beds. Even at the age of 30, this is the only real friendship I've ever had. Where's your gig? Comedy Corner in Nottingham. It's usually a good crowd. So, tell me more. I hope you told him to stick his job right up his double divan. Words to that effect. Good for you. Yeah, but... I pull my red jumper over my head. I've now got to hustle to find another cleaning job. That 5 mornings a week slot is what's been paying my rent for the last 3 months. Have you set up a web page yet? I hesitate. Not yet. I'll scour the ads and apply for something. Mags! She lets out an exasperated sigh. I keep telling you to put myself out there more. I know. But most people like to meet me first, and it's usually in a public place, and you know how hard... Her voice softens. I know, but you've got to stop living your life as though you're the side character and everyone else has the lead roles. Make up an excuse. Tell them, I don't know, that you're a germaphobe or something. A germaphobe who is a cleaner? I snort. I'm sure that would go down well. But if you start your own business, you could set the terms. Have a Zoom call first or something. I do set the terms. I choose which jobs to apply for. But if you set up your own company, rather than working for other people, people would come to you with the jobs, not the other way. Speaking of which, did I tell you Wes Good asked if he could have free VIP tickets? Wes? That name is a blast from the past. He used to call her 10-ton Tessie and once wrapped her a pack of lard up for her birthday. For your arse, he'd said. Dick. She'd laughed it off. She always made fun of herself to stop being bullied, and now she's taken that and made it into a career choice. What did you say? I didn't say anything, just replied pretending I was my own PA and attached the link to the ticket site. Oh, and included him in one of my set pieces. Nice. I glance up at my watch. Crap, gotta go. I'm cleaning Riz's in half an hour. Love you millions. Love you billions. Chapter 2. Maggie. I pull out my phone, selecting my Songs to Clean To playlist. Wake Me Up Before You Go by Wham blasts through my one working earpod. An hour ago, Riz's kitchen bin was full, the surfaces splattered with coffee grinds and dirty teaspoons, and now? Lemony fresh, shining tiles, gleaming toaster. My sense of pride peacocks inside my chest, fluffing up like my feather duster as I close the kitchen door and make my way into the lounge, while trying not to question how I'm going to pay my rent next month without the 5 days a week at Pillow Paradise. Mrs. Hancock, Riz to her friends, has wall-to-wall photos at every stage of her adventurous life. I pull out my microfiber cloth and go about dusting them. The pictures range from her in her 20s, a firm athletic body atop an elephant in Kenya, in an army green flak jacket as a photographer and war correspondent, cigarette between red lips, in her 30s holding an award, silver dress, her wedding day, garter showing as she sits on the back of a transport lorry. I take my time with each frame, with each piece of glass, making sure every stage of Riz's life remains unblemished. I imagine myself in those scenarios. Riz's chin is always slightly lifted, as though she's challenging the world to take its best shot, whereas I keep my head down, avoiding the world as best I can. I'm also short rather than tall. My mouth is fuller, my nose isn't as strong, and I have dark green eyes instead of light blue. The only travelling I've got under my belt is a few wet weeks in Wales, which my foster mum, Helly, had saved all year round to pay for. God, how I would love to travel to those kinds of places. I'll be lucky if I can make it to China City down the road for a chicken chow mein, given I only have £25 and 53 pence to last me until next Monday. And now, after Doug and his search for paper clips, I'm going to have to find another gig. Maybe Tess is right, and I should set up my own company rather than working for other people. On the plus side, I straighten a frame. I might not have enough to splash out on a takeaway, but I have a roof over my head that's mine, a bedroom that I'm not sharing, and a job I love when I'm not avoiding the likes of Doug and his roaming hands. I look to the window where September hail is hailing on the Georgian plains. It's a good job I've already set the timer on my heating so I can have a long bath before my last job of the day. I say job, but cleaning the local cinema and getting free entrance and snacks every Friday night is hardly what I would call work. The playlist is flicked on to White Wedding by Billy Idol, and I sing along as I dust the rest of the surfaces. My finger catches on a piece of paper poking out of the top drawer of Riz's dresser, and I reach over to put it away. My heart sinks as I read the words at the top of the letter. Dear Mrs. Hancock, we are thrilled to confirm your placement at Heritage Retirement Home. Riz has been looking frailer lately, and I know she doesn't have any living relatives. I close the drawer quickly as Riz shuffles into the room, the steel-framed walker making her progress slow. Even at 84, her white hair is still thick, but it's flat on one side. She must have been napping in her office. I unplug Henry and pull out my earpod. Do you want me to turn up the heating a bit? I rub my hands together. I'm cold. Even in the summer, always feeling the need to have a jumper or coat on hand. I nod towards the window, landing my foot on Henry, the lead tidying away with a whoosh. That would be wonderful. Thank you, Mags. She pushes up her sleeves and begins manoeuvring herself. I step towards her high-backed chair, give the cushions a quick plump and stand back, not touching her. She grips the side of the walker, bracing herself as she releases the bar and reaches out towards the arm of the chair. I take a small step in her direction, but keep myself far enough away so we're not touching. Riz flinches, a flash of pain crossing her features, before being replaced with a look of frustration. Her eyes meet mine, defeat softening her gaze. Would you be so kind as to give me a hand, Mags? I look at her in panic. Of course, I want to help her. It should be a simple request. I should already be moving towards her, hands at the ready. But touching someone is not easy. It never has been. My eyes search the room for the pair of bright yellow marigold gloves, but realise I've left them in the kitchen. I back away, but I already know my fight is lost. The tension in her body is making her shake, and if I hesitate any longer, she will be on the floor. My feet move towards her, mouth dry, heart jackknifing against my ribs. My hands stretch outwards, one at her bare elbow, the other at the bottom of her back. Nausea tightens at the base of my throat as I try to speak, to continue my life on the outside as I've taught myself to do since I was a child. Almost there. I hold onto her elbow and shift the cushion as she lowers herself down. I'm on the verge of passing out. I take a steadying breath and manage to land her into the chair, letting her go as quickly as I can without ceremony or fanfare, while inside, my body reacts to the release with breakneck relief. My hand reaches to the back of my neck. It feels as though my pulse is about to explode through my veins. Riz shifts and leans her head against the chair, eyes tearful as she looks to the ceiling rose. I know how much it's going to hurt her to tell me that I no longer have a job. I can help with that at least. I ignore the pulse throbbing at the top of my spine and crouch down in front of her. In normal circumstances, I would take her hand in mine and run my thumb across her paper-thin skin. But I'm not normal. Can I get you a glass of water? She shakes her head, closes her eyes briefly, then straightens, resilience and tough upper lip expression as she meets my eyes. Mags, I'm afraid I'm going to have to let you go, she begins. Earnest. Riz, I jump in. She leans forward, sapphire blue eyes widening as she takes in my expression. Well, you see, I'm so sorry, Riz, but I'm not going to be able to clean for you anymore. I'm going to be studying. I pick a plausible subject, script writing. But the thing is, the hours will probably conflict with my time here. Her eyes search mine, tears pricking behind them as she smiles. How marvellous for you, Maggie. I honestly couldn't be happier for you. She beams. I once dated an English professor. Did I mention that? 2 decades my senior. Mind you, he taught me more than English that summer, and I dare say I taught him 1 or 2 tricks myself. She winks and we laugh. How about you open that cabinet and pour us both a glass of rum to celebrate new beginnings? The hail has turned back to rain, and my thick, more brown than blonde curls are now rat-tailing above my shoulders. I drag Henry along the path, his face smiling, regardless of the strain on his ligaments. Come on, Henry, I encourage, giving his hose nose a tug over cracked paving slabs. I've parked in the lay-by and walked the 10 minutes needed to get to Riz's rather than park in the pay and display outside her place. Harrisby Bay has been my home for the last 23 years. And honestly, I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. We have our fair share of sandy beaches, plenty of high street shops, rolling hills and top-notch restaurants, or so I've heard. The buildings that line the bay are a mismatch of the old and new, shops and houses that rub alongside each other despite their differences. It's like they echo the personalities of the small population who call this home. We're not far from Brighton, on the south coast, and up until the last decade, our little slice of paradise has remained pretty much under the radar. But best-kept secrets never stay kept for long, and lately there have been more and more visitors and property owners joining us. I don't mind, not really, but the more people that come, the more people I avoid. I approach the lay-by outside Harrow's Hawkers, where my red Fiat Punto is parked beneath a flickering street lamp, rain sliding down the rusty bonnet into the giant pothole puddle next to it. My lilac boots are starting to leak, but it was either these or my white house pumps that I wear when I'm cleaning, and they'd be ruined by now. My next job isn't for another few hours, and my plan is to get home, take a long hot bath, and change my clothes before my Friday night date at the cinema. I know technically it's still work, but as soon as I've hoovered up the popcorn, cleaned the loos and polished the lobby, Friday night belongs to me. The last session on a Friday night is usually a quiet one, so I give it a good clean beforehand, then it just needs a swift once-over before I leave, which leaves me with 2 glorious hours in front of the big screen with as much popcorn as I can eat and a large Diet Coke. I lean Henry's hose next to the car and fumble with the keys as the rain pelts at my skin and falls into my eyes. My fingers are still cold regardless of the thick wool of my green gloves. For once in my life, I would love to have a car with central locking that works and heated seats and… Crap! No! Scrambling to my knees, I crouch down next to my car. I take off my gloves and shove them into my pocket, a hole already forming in my fishnets. I scan beneath the car in the dull light, searching for my keys, tapping my fingers around, but sit back with nothing to show for my efforts. I pull my phone out of my pocket, slide my damp fingers 3 times across the surface until it opens the torch. I get on all fours, tilting the light across the pavement until it lands on the 6 slots of the drain. My keys lost beneath them. Perfect. It'll take me too long to walk home, then back into town. The thought of getting on a bus makes me feel sick. The last time I was on public transport, in close proximity to so many people, I found myself wedged in the wheelchair-only space of the bus. But maybe I can get on the bus this time. It might be quiet. I reckon most people are at home, staying in from the hideous weather. I dig my hands around in my pocket and find I have just over £3, as well as a packet of Tic Tacs. That's enough to get me and Henry a bus ticket. I shake 2 mints into my palm, pop them into my mouth, put my gloves back on, and employ a determined stride. Not long now, I reassure Henry as much as myself, pulling him along the stretch of path towards the bus stop, the rain still unleashing itself on us. Pausing for a second to catch my breath, I wipe the mascara from beneath my eyes again before dragging poor Henry onwards. Waterproof mascara my backside. There is a heavy rumble behind me, and a blast of dirty puddle water hits my right side as the bus hurries past. Perfect. Just perfect. I carry on walking. The few shops that edge around town are closed. Some date back to Tudor times, others built in the 70s and 80s, each window dark, reflecting me and Henry as we walk. I pass a boutique, eyeing the clothing inside that even if I saved all of my wages and didn't buy 1 packet of super noodles, I still wouldn't be able to afford. I continue on, taking my usual shortcut through Fleetwood Road. It's a narrow cobbled side street. Blink and you'd miss the entrance. It's the perfect shortcut to avoid the busier parts of town. Just a few small rows of neat bungalows. Helly used to clean number 6. Tess and I would climb the tree in the backyard. I glance at the blue door with fond memories, following the quiet street until I cut back out onto the main road. To my right is the beachfront, the waves loud as they crash against the shore. I drag Henry past the bakery and the grab-a-gift shop on my left. We sidestep the smokers outside the White Lion, my head dipped against the smell of stale beer and the sounds of a sports match playing in the background. I continue past Smithfield Road and the best pork pie in the county shop. Ahead, a group of women grip umbrellas and chatter amicably, one holding the door into a bookshop open with one hand, shaking rain and closing the umbrella down with another. I trail slowly behind them. My stomach rumbles almost as loudly as Henry's wheels. I'm hit with a waft of fresh coffee as the door closes. I step cautiously closer. On the inside of the door facing me is a poster advertising a book club, a grainy black and white picture of the book of the month. Great Expectations. Join us for coffee, cake and bookish chat. All welcome. Entrance £3. I peer in through the blurred windows, rain distorting the view. My stomach rumbles again as I eye the warmth inside and the group of people taking their coats off. Their hugs and smiles are being passed around like a biscuit tin. The chairs are arranged in a semicircle, and there is space around them. My hand reaches for the coins in my pocket, warm and comforting like the inside of the shop. I wish I could be one of them. They wave and embrace, their conversation flowing easily. A head turns. A woman in a polka dot dress and straight black fringe catches me looking in and begins to smile. But I already know how this ends. With a slow exhale, I give the bookshop one more wistful look and pull Henry behind me. There is a chippy down the road with a 3-star hygiene rating, which is bound to be empty. I'll go there instead. I should have enough to get a bag of 3-star chips, and if I'm lucky, they'll take a while to reheat.
Chapter 3. Jack. Ever since I was a young boy, I used to find comfort in the order of letters and words, in the alphabet, in the breaths between commas and semicolons, between paragraphs and chapters. My father is a writer. My mother is the chief editor at a publishing house, so words have always been part of the tapestry of my life. There was always comfort to be found in the middle, beginning, and endings of books. At least, that's what I thought a year ago, before everything I loved was ripped away, gouged out from deep in the cortex of my brain. I'm an imposter now, an outsider, forced beneath the skin of my own body. I'm a walking contradiction, a reader who can't read, a bookshop owner who no longer loves books. I reach for the bathroom cupboard and pop a diazepam into my palm. I know it's diazepam because I've coloured the label yellow. I squint at the symbols. I throw the pill to the back of my tongue, lean down, drink directly from the tap, then splash my face with water. My hands grip the edge of the sink as I close my eyes, waiting to feel the effects of the diazepam ease their way into my nervous system, waiting for magic fingers to untangle the knots of fear that have me hiding in my own bathroom, wearing an expensive suit that I bought a year ago, which I never made it down the aisle in. Even after so much time has passed, I can't grasp my new normality. It's intangible, a wisp of reality that is too faint to hold. I still hear the same phrases that screeched inside my head when I was told I have alexia. The stroke damaged your left visual cortex. The words sounded like they were being shot at me, bullets of information. Your right visual cortex can process visual information, but it can't send the information you need to decipher the words. Each pitying explanation delivered in a pitch that set my teeth on edge. I had hope back then. They were wrong. They. The neurologists, the doctors, the therapists, my family, my colleagues. Hope still sometimes lingers when I occasionally see the consultants, when they tell me the ways I can flex the muscles of my brain to help me read again. The irony of it all is that I can still write, but can't read a damn thing I've written. It feels like I'm on an acid trip every time I try. I had no idea that my life as I knew it was about to end on a Friday night. I loved my life back then. I loved waking up in the morning and only having to commute down the stairs into my bookshop. I loved the weight of a box of deliveries, fresh covers and new voices ready to be slotted into their rightful place. Thrillers in one section, romance in another, children's books at the back, cookery books behind the counter holding glass domes of freshly baked muffins. I loved the huff and puff of the coffee machine, the peal of the bell above the door, the smile when a regular customer came to pick up the new release of their favourite author. I loved my fiancée. I loved my job. But that was then, before I had a stroke 2 days before my 32nd birthday. A Friday was the last day I found comfort in the order of words. All I remember is leaving the pub, a blurred image of a man, then a crack at the back of my head. The same kind of crack and physical pain that pulses every time I try to read. The doctors have said this is normal, that the trauma has caused my memories to become impenetrable, But not knowing what happened that night, not understanding why this happened to me, makes me feel like even more of a failure. Deep inside my gut, I know that if I could remember what happened, it could help me read again. Or maybe I'm clutching at straws. The fact that I was steaming drunk didn't make a solid case for the police that anyone else had caused my accident. There was nothing to say that I hadn't just fallen over. The bell above the shop door downstairs compacts the air in my chest. It's book club time. Downstairs there will be 15 to 20 eager readers, exploding with thoughts about their pick of the month. Paperbacks will be excavated from bags. Notebooks will be smoothed down. Nell will be hurrying around taking drink orders in her usual Wednesday Addams style of dress, while the volume of conversation rises to cataclysmic heights. I used to love Friday nights. Before, they meant books and the comfort of being around people who were like me. Now they confirm that I don't belong in that world anymore. I dread Friday nights. I take a few deep breaths, unlock my fingers from the edges of the sink, and head back into the lounge, sinking into the edge of the sofa. A bubble of laughter climbs the stairs and leaks into the room. I try to swallow the block of air in my chest. The life I wanted and my ambitions, all compacted behind it. Nell raps on the door. "Jack, taxi's almost here." I pull myself up, smooth my hair down and open the door. "Wow," she says, smiling. "Just look at what something other than joggers and workout gear can do for a man." Very funny. I run my finger around my collar. It feels like it's shrinking with each passing second. I feel like a priest. No priest I've ever met looks like they're about to walk the red carpet at the BAFTAs. Not true, Andrew Scott. Andrew Scott isn't a real priest. Remind me again why I'm going to the awards when you're the one who has run the shop all year. Because it's your shop, with your name above it. Nell stands on tiptoes and adjusts my bow tie. You know, if I were into the whole man thing, I reckon I'd be climbing you like a tree dressed like that. Nell has absolutely zero filter, but has worked here since she left school. Came at a moment's notice after I was hospitalised, worked long hours without asking, and has held my business together for the last year. "Keep still," she instructs, blowing her razor-sharp black fringe out of her eyes, while her fingers continue fluttering beneath my chin. She drops back onto the flats of her Doc Martens, strokes down my arms, and gives a little nod. "You'll do. Time to go." The diazepam hasn't kicked in yet, and fear slams through my back into my chest, like I've been bucked from a horse. I take a step back. I don't know if I can do this. Nell lifts her chin. "Yes, you can. You smile that smile, and you talk the talk, and you keep your head held high when you win the best indie bookshop of the year." There is the thrum of a heated discussion climbing the stairs. "Great expectations," Nell says, in explanation. "Mrs. Keller thinks Pip is a whining little..." I interrupt her before she can finish her sentence. "Well, respectfully, I disagree. Pip's not only the..." I'm trying to find the word that's out of reach. But the word doesn't come. The pill is kicking in. He's the lead character and the narrator. It's his words that shape the whole narrative. He's caring, passionate, and he might not make the best choices, but he learns from them. And... what? She pinches my chin and grins at me. "Listen to me, Jack. You're going to walk onto that stage and own the room. You'll probably get laid, too, looking like that. How long's it been? 6 months? I open my mouth and close it. A year? Jesus, Jack. You'll tear a wrist ligament. Will you promise me something? No. I fiddled with the collar again. Fine, you don't have to promise me. But if you see someone you're attracted to, will you at least try? I let out a breath, tired of Nell constantly telling me to get back out there. You deserve to be happy, Jack. Being on your own doesn't suit you. It never will. You're on your own? But I love my own space, Jack. You've always been part of a group. Your family, your friends. Your whole life you've been part of something. It's time to stop hiding yourself away from folk. As I say, Nell has zero filter. Now, come on, get a move on. If I get one more taxi notification vibrating in my pocket, I'll be needing a post-coital cigarette. She grins and hurries down the stairs. I wait a beat. The pill begins to work its magic, and the man I have become awkwardly steps outside of my body, leaving the ghost of the person I was inside the suit. I can do this. I can pretend to be the man I was, for the next 4 hours at least. This award won't fix me, or repay the money Vicky took back when she left. It's not going to unsign the loan papers either. But it will be good for business, and I desperately need that right now. I grab my coat from the back of the door and close it behind me. The rain is hammering down as I head into the station. Platform 4, I repeat over and over. As long as there have been no major changes to the layout of the station, I know where I'm going. I look up instinctively to the screen to check my train is on time. I take a deep breath and head for platform 4, just as the word protagonist arrives in my thoughts.
Chapter 4. Maggie. Just a few more minutes. I encourage Henry as I reattach his nose hose for the 3rd time as we turn into one of the many back streets forking away from the main promenade. We're almost there. I tug him along the last leg towards Flick's. Pausing for a second to catch my breath, I look up at the small 2-story shop front. It's set back from the road, 2 grey-tinted windows either side of the silver door. Above the door, the billboard promises one of my favourite love stories, Some Kind of Wonderful. Vanity lights surround the small billboard, and they glow onto the pavement. It's like the puddles are trying to steal a small taste of Hollywood. I'm out of breath, but happy. We made it. I lift Henry up the steps and open the small black box to the left of the door, pull off my gloves and tap the code into the keypad. The wind lifts again, then there is a small noise like a fizz. I grimace, then punch the number in again, and the door clicks open. I slide my gloves back on and climb the stairs, pushing open the doors to the main foyer. 5 years ago, this small space used to be a sweet shop. Now the walls are a deep red velvet with gold-embossed panels. There is an eclectic mix of film posters from Gone with the Wind to Moulin Rouge. Slap bang in the centre of the square space is a booth that could be sitting in the middle of a casino. It's gold, hexagonal, and the top rises and dips like the peak of a crown. Romy sits behind the 3 glass windows, feet up, giant headphones over her pink space buns. She licks her finger and turns the page of her magazine before clocking me and Henry. She pulls off her headphones and exits the booth at the back. Holy Mary, what happened to you? She goes to touch my arms, but stops her movements instinctively. Romy had assumed I have OCD on the first day we met. I can see why. I have been desperate to make a good first impression, while at the same time avoiding accidentally brushing her skin. It made for a pretty awkward interview, and we ended up performing this kind of dance as she waited for me to walk into her office, while I took a step back, making space for her to do the same. When we finally got into the room, the 2 chairs set for interviewing were mere centimetres away, and so I ended up moving the chair 3 times before sitting down. And desperate to impress, I continued to describe my enthusiastic love of cleaning by pulling out a tissue and wiping down the edges of the chair and door handle. Retrospectively, I can see that my actions were maybe a little too enthusiastic. It was no wonder that I did a Gwyneth-level acceptance speech when she called offering me the job. On my first day, she mentioned a friend who had OCD. It was only by chance that I looked up and realised she was saying this to me with understanding and sympathy. I wish I could tell Romy the truth. The only person who knows is Tess, but other than her, my attempted friendships or relationships as a whole crash and burn. But it doesn't stop the edges of the lie sharpening itself against my conscience. I drop my car keys down the drain. I answer, "You poor thing!" I'm fine, honest. I've got a spare set in my cleaning cupboard. Romy is in her early 50s, and after divorcing her husband of 30 years, she bought this place, renovated the bottom floor into a small cinema, and is embarking on her own sexual revolution. She is currently dating herself. Every Friday, she goes on a date. A table for one in a good restaurant, a bottle of decent wine, a new book, and a set of double A's for her vibrator. So, Friday nights, I clean, watch the last showing, and lock up afterwards. She goes on her date and gives me free entry anytime I want. It's win-win. She's also going through something of a fashion renaissance and currently looks like a cross between Tina Turner and Cyndi Lauper circa 1985. I'll dry off in no time, and Henry is looking forward to watching the best kissing scene from any movie, ever. Agreed. Here. She returns to the booth and digs out a black lace shirt. Pop this on until your clothes are dry. She throws it over to me. Thanks, you're a lifesaver. It'll be a quiet night with the weather like this, she adds as a gust of wind sends a gravel-like splatter against the glass. The next showing starts in an hour and a half. Colin is already in the projection room, but can you give him a nudge? Hypothetically, she adds. Yesterday he was asleep in his pot noodle. Not that it'll matter. I've only had a handful of customers today. The Odeon has a 2-for-1 deal, so... She trails off, nonplussed. This is a passion project for her. Despite her rather eclectic fashion sense and devil-may-care attitude, she had been a successful injury solicitor. Heading through the foyer, I open my cleaning cupboard, take off my coat, shimmy out of my top and replace it, the black lace visibly showing my purple bra. My navy cleaning apron covers the lace, and I swap my green gloves for a straight-from-the-packet pair of marigolds, holster my disinfectant and polish, then finish the look by hooking 3 black bin liners over my belt before following the gold-glittered arrows that point downstairs to the cinema. The room is dark until I flick on the overheads, the light bathing the 40 flip-down seats. The walls are deep red with gold edging around the panels, and heavy deep red curtains cover the screen. It can be a bit much at first glance, but after a while, it stops feeling like you're inside a gilded vagina. I set to work, picking up discarded popcorn bags, empty cups and a rogue bag of dried mango. Who in their right mind takes dried mango to the cinema? I shrug and add it to the bag. An hour passes quickly, and I finish polishing the taps, add fresh loo rolls, and squirt toilet duck around the rims. There, all done. I throw my plastic yellow gloves into the recycling bin, open my bag, untangle my hair, run some tinted Vaseline over my lips, and add a small layer to my eyelids, a tip from Marilyn Monroe's makeup artist. I add lemon and ginger essential oils to my wrist and neck and rub my lips together. Hardly Monroe, but at least I don't look like I've been pushed into a swimming pool fully clothed. I slide my fingers into my new baby pink flip-top mittens, fix the button in place, and head to the back of the building, giving the projection room door a tap. Colin is sitting behind a small desk, dozing, the square glass window to the auditorium above. It's almost 8, I say, ignoring the stale smell. Righto. He swings on his chair, runs his fingers down the small leaning tower of hard drives in white boxes, tracking his finger along the names until he finds some kind of wonderful, amongst the other films for the month, all John Hughes classics. Last week it was 16 Candles. He opens the box, takes out the drive and slots it into the player. It looks like a black stereo that could be straight from a film set in the 90s. "Pass me the trailers, would you, love?" I hesitate, before picking up the thumb drive with this week's date on, quickly placing it on the desk next to him, which he slots into the USB port above the main driver slots. The film begins to upload, the file flicking up on the computer monitor desktop. He opens an email with the authorization code and jots it down on a piece of paper with several other codes. It's going to be a quiet one, so no worries if you're a bit late. I smile at Colin, but he's already clicking on the screen, checking on the download progress. "No worries, it'll be done in about 20. Back in the foyer, Romy is throwing on her leather jacket. I take off my apron. My jumper on the back of the door is still wet through, but my fake fur is dry, having been hung over the radiator. I slip my arms through, the gloves less conspicuous now. "I'll hang on for another 15, then get going," Romy adds. "Colin can take over here once the film's rolling." "Okie dokes." I push my arms through the jacket. I don't suppose you need me for any more days, do you? I've got more slots available, so if you need any extra hours, I'm free. Like, really free. Losing Pillow Paradise and Riz means I'll now have more free time than I'd like. "Oh, Mags, I would, but I can offer you a discount." I'm one step away from pushing my mittens together in prayer. "You know I would in a heartbeat, but I'm tied into the cleaning contract with Clean Pro. Claire has 3 kids and has been with me since the beginning. She would work Fridays too if she could get a sitter." "Oh, no worries." I wave away her apologies and put on a smile. "But if she needs to cut her hours, you'll be the first person I call, okay?" "That would be great. Now scoot, you've a date to get to." "See you next week." "Yep, I'll be here." "Don't forget to help yourself to snacks." The door swings behind her as I try to calculate if I will have enough after my final week's pay to top up the electric meter. My reduced hours will mean budget beans on toast and cheap super noodles for the week. I make my way over to the snacks, undo the pearl button of my gloves so the tips of my fingers are free, grab a bag of popcorn, and pour myself a large Diet Coke from the dispenser. Henry smiles over at me. "Come on then," I say to him, arm-pitting my popcorn and picking him up with my Coke-free hand. "You can keep me company and be there in case I spill the popcorn." I slurp my Diet Coke, dipping my hand into my bag of sweet and salted. Henry is planted on the seat next to me. The rush and creak of the red curtains pulling back fills the room. Not for the first time, I question if I'm losing my mind, having a portable Hoover as my Friday night date. I'm 30 minutes into the film when the door opens, Colin sauntering down towards the front row. "Mags, I'm going to head off. You all right to close up?" "Yep," I whisper back, even though there's only us here. There is a kind of reverence to the inside of a cinema. It's as though the rest of the world is on hold. No emails, no phone messages, no red light blinking on the electric meter. Just me and the life unfolding on screen. "Great, the doors will lock behind me. You've got the code?" "Mm-hmm." I nod, smiling at him even though I'm desperate to land my eyes back on the screen. He's a sweetheart, and I don't mind him knocking off early tonight. He has a wife, 2 teenagers, and a pet iguana called Horatio. "And you know how to turn off the console?" he fusses. "Yep." I give him a thumbs up. He casts his eyes across the empty seats. "Just you tonight, then?" "Yep, just me."
Chapter 5. Jack. I climb out of the taxi and stare up at the hotel. Large symbols naming it Salisbury House loom above me. At least, that was what the taxi driver has assured me. I climb the steps between the two stone pillars. They are lit up in blue lights, with a banner wound around them. At a guess, I'd say they announce the De Winter Book Awards. Inside the large foyer is a hive of activity. Editors, literary agents, press, bloggers and authors, all holding glasses of fizz and talking loudly. A tall woman wearing a black dress approaches me as I begin to take off my coat. "Hi," she greets me, energetically. "Nominee or guest?" I hesitate, the diazepam taking the edge off her words. "Nominee," I reply, eyes scouting the room, looking for familiar faces to avoid. "Congratulations, if you'd like to follow me." I nod my assent, dip my head, and follow her into a larger reception room. The noise is louder here. I recognise some attendees. Others are new and unfamiliar. "Lanyards are over there," she continues, arms swooping towards a large table with lanyards set out in neat rows. "And do help yourself to a complimentary drink." She smiles through deep red lips. "Thank you. I nod towards the bar. "Enjoy the evening and good luck." "Thank you," I reply, a second too late. She's already striding past me and back out into the entrance hall. I grab a glass of champagne and take 2 large sips. My uncomfortable, polished shoes lead me towards the table, where I'm met with about 40 white squares, edged with deep blue, all with matching blue lanyards. But I may as well be looking at hieroglyphics. My heart is pounding in my ears as I redundantly search for something that resembles a J. The room shrinks. The sounds loud and yet distant, a shriek of laughter behind me, an announcement from a microphone in the next room, a confusing concoction of musical instruments resembling jazz. I scour the white squares for a few seconds more, but the symbols aren't stationary. Heat rushes to my face, my throat tightens. I knock back the rest of the drink before I turn and walk back out of the building and into a recently vacated taxi. "Train station, please." I rest my head against the back of the seat and close my eyes. The symbols and white rectangles dancing behind my eyelids. My phone vibrates. Mum's face. "Jack, where are you? Edna said she saw you leave." I look out of the window, the rain blurring the view of the street lamps as the taxi weaves across town. "I'm not well. Migraine." "Jack," she challenges softly. "I know it's difficult, but can you give my apologies? And if I win, accept the award?" "Sweetheart, Can you do that?" She pauses. "Mum?" "Yes," she sighs. "Yes, I can do that, but this is the last time, Jack. You need to move forward." I close my eyes and pinch the bridge of my nose. "I'm trying." "You can't keep hiding from your responsibility." "Sorry, Mum. Signal sketchy. I'll speak to you later." I glance at my watch. The hand's telling me it's almost 9. I'm back outside the station. 2 train journeys and nothing to show for my efforts, except a blister on the back of my heel. The rain is unrelenting. I can't go back to the shop yet. I can't face the interrogation, and so I begin to walk. I have no destination, other than not home. Familiar streets, with unfamiliar signposts, follow my progress. My hands are inside my pockets, the gold-edged invitation scratching against the inside of my palm. I stop next to a bin and discard it. A light flashes in my periphery. My eyes are pulled towards the flickering bulbs surrounding a billboard. I'm momentarily disorientated. I don't recognise the street I found myself on, and the signposts are as confusing to me as the words on the invitation. I can't remember the last time I went to the movies. 2 years ago? Maybe 3. I don't consciously make a decision to walk up the steps, or open the door, or follow the pull towards the ticket office. And yet, here I am. It's richly furnished in reds and golds, and at odds with the humble building. My eyes are drawn to the sounds from the film, echoing through into the room. But it's empty. I step towards the ticket booth. "Hello?" I ask. But there is no response. I take out a 20, place it in the small tray beneath the glass ticket sales booth, and follow the sounds of the film. The way is signposted by golden arrows, and my feet step carefully down into the secrets of the building. Music plays from behind a red door. Something from another era. 80s, maybe? I put my hand on the door at the foot of the stairs and push.
Chapter 6. Maggie. Here we go. It doesn't matter how many times I've seen this movie. This scene gets me. Every time. Eric Stoltz, aka Keith, in his dark blue mechanic's overalls, under a car. Watts, short blonde hair, the ultimate tomboy, and hopelessly stuck in the friend zone, is convincing him that maybe he should consider practicing kissing on her before he makes a move on the popular chick. I chew on another piece of popcorn. The warm and fuzzies expand in my chest as she asks him what he intends on doing with his hands. I let out a loud sigh as their lips meet, as her hands run through his hair, her biker boots hitching around his waist. I'm swooning up at the screen as the kiss deepens, and increasing music volume intensifies the moment. God, I wish I could lose myself in a kiss like that, to be swept off my feet by that kind of need and want. I wish I could have that kind of... The room sinks into darkness, Watts and Keith disappearing from view. Panic catches in my throat as my eyes adjust to the absence of light. I'm alone. In the dark. I let out a long, steadying breath, reminding myself that it's the same room as it was a minute ago while Watts and Keith were getting it on. All that's missing is light. That's all. Just a simple power cut. It'll be the storm. I take another breath in, counting to 5, then exhaling to 10. I stand and begin to make my way past the empty seats to the end aisle, walking slowly towards the door, the bare tips of my fingers tracing the edges of the seats. There is a split second where the air changes, when I know I'm not alone. "Hello?" The voice is deep, questioning, and breaks into the silence. "Is there someone in here?" My breath is coming in sharp bursts, and I reactively undo the buttons on my mittens, covering my fingertips. "Do you know what's happened to the lights?" The voice continues. I'm deliberating answering when the lights flicker back on. The screen behind me resets to sky blue. I take in the man stood still in the aisle. He's tall, broad, and looks like he stepped out of a 1950s film, like he's one scene change away from leaning against a wall in the shadows and lighting a cigarette. Dark hair parted on the side, clean-shaven, tucks, buttons open at the neck, tie loose around the collar. Jesus. Maybe I wished for the perfect man, and this is a 16 candles scenario. I've made a wish, and it's come true. I shake sense back into my brain. I'm alone in this building with a stranger, no matter how knee-trembling, stomach-swoopingly gorgeous he is. "Don't come any closer," I warn, inwardly wincing at my sharp tone. My defences are instinctively up, but he looks like he's completely confused and worried by the situation, which is to be expected. I have practically accused him of being on the verge of attacking me without a valid reason. He puts his hands up as though I'm about to fire a gun at him and takes another slow step down the aisle, hands still raised. He's not far from me now. I can smell his aftershave. Clean, Expensive, like the scented candles from the new Marks and Sparks shop in town that Riz bought me for my birthday. He takes in my anxious state and softens his voice. I'm not... He lowers his hand and places it against his chest. Jack. You're not Jack? No, I mean, yes, I am Jack, but I'm not a weirdo. He takes a deep breath, exasperated with himself, or me, or the situation. I can't quite tell. He places a hand on his chest and says, Jack, in a me Tarzan, you Jane motion. He stops still, raising his hands again. I promise you, I'm not here to harm you. He runs one of his hands through his hair. I've had a crappy night and I just wanted to catch a movie. There are no ulterior motives here, okay? Neither of us breaks eye contact. I can hear each breath in my lungs inhaling and exhaling. Is the storm still storming? I ask, not knowing how to respond. He nods with a small smile. I like that. Storm still storming. He takes a moment to appreciate my turn of phrase before continuing. I'm guessing that's what caused the electric to go off? He raises his eyebrows. I think so. I shrug. All wishes do come true, and I've Aladdined you into this room. Jack breaks eye contact first, his focus landing on my recently vacated seat, Henry still staring at the screen. Unusual companion? His eyes flick back to mine, mouth cracking into a lopsided smile. It's unnervingly self-conscious, as though he's afraid of unleashing it. I'm the cleaner, I say, pride in my voice. You know, James Joyce used to take his notebook everywhere with him. A true artist is never far away from their tools. You should see my feather duster. I'm a magician with that in my hands. What? I sound like I'm offering him a good go-over with my tickling stick. He doesn't respond other than a slight twitch of his mouth. Top lip Cupid's bow, bottom bee stung. We both hesitate. A small ripple of nervous laughter comes from within my chest. He lowers his hands slowly. Well, seeing as the movie isn't playing, I'll be on my way. He tucks his hand in his pocket. It was good.